you ever have that feeling like you're just running on a hamster wheel? You're constantly busy, you're checking things off your to-do list, but you're getting absolutely nowhere on the goals that really matter to you? Well, today we're going to explore this really powerful idea that explains that exact paradox. It's called indolence of spirit. So let's dive right in. So let's just kick things off with a question that honestly feels kind of like a riddle. Can you actually be productive and lazy at the exact same time? I mean, logic says no, right? You're either working hard or you're slacking off. It's one or the other. But as we're about to find out, the real answer is way more complex and probably a lot more relatable than you think. I bet you know someone like this. In fact, hey, maybe it's even you. Their calendar is just slammed. A fortress of appointments. They are always on the move, always working on something, pouring all this energy into their day-to-day life. But then you ask them about that big dream, that personal project or spiritual goal they say is their number one priority, and there's just nothing. No progress. They are profoundly, completely stuck. And our first instinct is to defend them, isn't it? We say, that's not laziness. I mean, look how hard they're working. But what if our usual understanding of what lazy means is just too small? What if it doesn't really capture what's going on here? Maybe we need a better word for it. And that brings us to our first big idea. To really solve this puzzle, we've got to start by redefining what it actually means to be lazy. We have to look way beyond the surface. Okay, so if you look up laziness in the dictionary, you'll get something like this: an aversion or disinclination to work or exertion. Pretty straightforward. Now, by that standard, our busy but stuck person is the complete opposite of lazy. Their life is literally filled with exertion. But this definition, well, as we're about to see, it's missing the most important piece of the story. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The source material we're looking at gives us this expanded definition, and it totally changes the game. See, laziness isn't just about doing nothing. It's also procrastination, making excuses, avoiding effort, and then there's this key part right here, a reluctance to exert energy despite having the ability to do so. Wow. All of a sudden, that busy but stuck person starts to come into really sharp focus, doesn't it? And boom, there it is. That's the solution to our paradox. You absolutely can fill your days with a ton of activity, being productive in a dozen small ways, while being fundamentally lazy about the one specific thing you need to do for your real growth. See? You're not avoiding all effort. You're just avoiding the right effort. Okay, so if this isn't just plain old regular laziness, then what is it? Well, the source material actually gives us a much more precise term for this very specific state of being. The term they use is indolence of spirit. And that distinction is so important. This isn't about being physically lazy, like you can't get off the couch. It's more like an inertia of the will, a deep, profound unwillingness to actually act on the very goals you say you value the most. Okay, but before we go any farther, we need to be really clear about the author's intent here. The word indolence, it sounds harsh, doesn't it? It feels like a judgment, like someone's wagging their finger at you. But they are very explicit. This is not meant to condemn anyone. Think of it more like a diagnosis, just an objective description of a condition, not a moral failing. To really drive this point home and make it unforgettable, the source uses a classic story that is just the perfect case study for this idea of spiritual indolence. You've probably heard this one before. It's the parable of the rich young man. So a successful, wealthy guy comes up to a teacher and asks, what do I have to do to gain eternal life? He says he's already done all the basics, followed all the commandments, but then he gets the real challenge, the one thing that will actually get him to his goal. Sell everything you have, give it away, and come follow me. And at that final, crucial step, he refuses. He just turns around and walks away sad. Now let's really unpack this, because this is the whole point. The man wasn't incapable. He absolutely had the desire. I mean, he's the one who came and asked the question. He clearly had the ability. He was rich. He could have sold his possessions. And he had direct, crystal clear instructions. He literally had everything he needed to take that next step. And this is where it all just clicks into place. His refusal is the perfect example of our expanded definition. He showed a clear reluctance to exert the necessary energy, even though he had the ability to do it, you see? He was active and super successful in one part of his life, making money, but totally indolent when it came to the spiritual goal he claimed to want. Okay, so what does some ancient story have to do with our modern lives? With our deadlines and our side hustles? Well, this is the point where indolence of spirit stops being just an interesting historical lesson and becomes a really powerful personal tool for you to use. Look, the whole reason for using a strong, kind of jarring word like indolence isn't to make you feel bad or guilty. It's meant to be a wake up call, a really clear, sharp prompt to make you stop, take a breath, and ask yourself honestly, am I busy with the right things or am I just busy avoiding the right things? And that distinction is everything. This is not about judgment, sticking a label on someone and calling them a bad or lazy person. It's about diagnosis. It's about objectively identifying a pattern of behavior so that you can finally do something about it. It's a tool for awareness, not a weapon to beat yourself up with. And this brings us full circle, right back to that powerful story. The great wealth that the young man had, that's a metaphor, and it's a brilliant one. For us, that wealth probably isn't a pile of gold coins. It could be our comfortable routine that we're terrified to disrupt. It might be our fear of failure, or hey, even our fear of success. It could be our attachment to a job title, a relationship, or even the online identity we've built for ourselves. This whole concept is like a spotlight, helping us find that one specific thing we are unwilling to sell to get the growth we claim we want. So, we're going to end with the one question this whole thing has been building up to. And it's not about judging some guy from an old story. It's about looking squarely at our own lives. So, I'll ask you, what is the great wealth that you're clinging to? What is that thing that keeps you busy, but also keeps you stuck? Because just identifying it, that's the first step. And the answer to that question, well, it isn't just an interesting thought. It could be the very key to unlocking your true potential.